All right. Now, we start that conversation here, and with me in studio is John Onyango Tolo, the CEO, KUPA Kenya, and Paul Ogola, KUPA beneficiary. Before we even get into this conversation, John, I'll start with you. Tell us a little bit about KUPA Kenya.
Thank you very much, Trevor. KUPA is Kenya Urban People Association, a welfare that provides funeral services. KUPA is 16 years old. We help Kenyans to reduce burden whenever they lose their loved ones.
Okay. When you say reduce burden, what do you mean?
You see, losing a loved one comes with a burden, and basically, when a person dies, actually they need to be buried. It depends where they come from. Sometimes you'll have to get transportation to take the body where we are going to bury. We need to get or ensure that this body is preserved before we raise money, so that we can take care of all the expenses that are needed. We also ensure that we either wrap the body or put it in a coffin so that it can be buried or disposed. So this comes with a lot of expenses.
Okay.
Yeah.
We'll talk about how to cover those expenses and how far you go with those expenses. Well, let me bring in Paul Ogola on this. Paul, when did you first interact with KUPA Kenya? What was the situation at that point?
Oh, thank you, Trevor, for having us here. I first came across KUPA Kenya in 2016. That was in the month of November. That same year, I lost my father in the month of February, and I realized how the burden of giving your loved one a decent send-off is so hard. And therefore, come the month of November, I visited a friend who also lost a parent. And then I came across KUPA. I saw some of the services that were being offered, and I became curious to know what is this KUPA and what is it offering. So I wished I knew that earlier before I buried my father. Yeah. But all in all, I joined because I had had a tough time conducting a burial, a decent send-off for my father, and I decided that now, this is the time. I have got a partner who can stand for me, stand by me, and stand with me. Okay. Yes.
So, John, just explain this. So, how does one become a member, and how do you cover those expenses?
Very easy to become a member. First of all, registration fee is 200.
Okay.
This 200, you send it to our till number 869246, and then there's a form that you're going to fill. The form, we are going to take your details, the name, ID number, phone number, residence, village where you're coming from. That is for principal member. And then there's dependents. You can either register your spouse and kids, and also your parents. So we have different categories of membership. We have individual cover, we have couple cover, we have family cover, extended family cover, and then we also have another cover that takes care of your parents and in-laws.
Okay.
Yeah.
So once somebody pays 200 shillings, they're registered. What are their obligations monthly? And how much do you cover when someone is bereaved?
Yeah, actually it depends with the cover that you have taken. For individual cover, it's only 100 shillings per month. Okay. For couple cover is 150 per month. For family cover, that is you plus your wife and kids below 18 years. That is 200 per month. And then for extended family, you pay 250 per month.
Okay.
Yeah.
So how many people in the nuclear family? So
nuclear family,
husband, wife, how many children?
Actually, it depends on the number of kids you have.
Okay.
And also, we also cover up to 100 years.
Up to 100 years?
Yes, yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
And how much is the cover in terms of benefit? So once you're bereaved, say, let's give an example of a family that has maybe 3 children, husband and wife, and then one of them, they're bereaved. How much will you cover?
Actually, we provide services. Yeah. We provide transportation of the body anywhere in Kenya.
Anywhere in Kenya?
Yes, we transport the body. We provide executive coffin. We also pay for mortuary bill for 14 days.
Okay.
We also clothe the body. We provide lowering gear, trolley, and gazebo tent.
Okay.
There's also additional service because for us, we want to reduce the budget to zero. So the additional services consist of 3 items like public address. We have plastic chairs and tents during burial.
Okay.
Yeah.
So just explain this to me. So when if you pay 150 per month, does that cover everyone or is it per person?
Basically, it's for couple, you and your wife.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then the children?
Children is now family cover.
So
Where
you go
pay
for
200.
the one for 200?
Yes.
Okay. And that covers each and every child, or do you...
The family.
The family itself.
Yes.
So if it is a family unit, then they need to pay 250.
That one is for extended family.
Okay.
Yeah, family is father, mother, and children.
Okay.
Yes.
And do you have a figure in terms of how much you will cover, or it's the items per item?
Not
Executive
really
casket,
in terms
logistics.
of items.
So it's not in terms of ballpark figure.
Yeah, actually you pay 200 per month, and that one will take care of transport, mortuary bill, clothing, lowering gear, trolley, gazebo tent,
Okay.
and the coffin.
Okay.
Yeah.
So what happens if somebody joins as a member right now as we're speaking? They send the 200 shillings and then by next week they're bereaved.
Actually, there's a waiting period.
Okay.
Yeah, because we are operating as an insurance company, and there's also risks. And also, when people are joining, there are people who have intention for us to bury for them.
Yeah.
As we want you to cover yourself, because we don't know the day and time. So it's you to plan early so that in case of unforeseen eventuality,
Yeah.
we are there for you.
So what is the waiting period?
Waiting period is 4 months.
4 months.
Yes.
So if you join now, you can only start enjoying your cover 4 months.
Yeah,
after.
4 months after.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. And there's something you mentioned, Paul, which I found interesting. You said that you wish someone would have told you earlier. Now, this is a conversation that as Kenyans or Africans, we don't generally talk about death.
Yeah.
What do you mean by saying that you wish someone would have told you earlier? Because this is almost like a taboo subject. None of us wants to talk about it. Even now, people are still wondering why you want to insure your life or insure the time when you die.
Okay, Trevor, the truth and the reality that we live with is that everybody having a birthday must have the day of rest. And we are trying to demystify the myths and misconceptions that come around death. Because at one point, it will happen. The only thing that we don't know is the date of death and the cause of death, but we are aware that it will happen. So when it happens, you need to give your loved one a decent send-off, because biblically, decent send-off is provided for in the Bible. So it is so shameful, and sometimes it will be like a history that do not bury me like so-and-so, just because you are not in a position to have a decent send-off for him, either due to lack of enough funds or ignorance, or not knowing that there are some of the organizations and insurances that can take care of the funeral burden. That is why I wished that I knew it before, because I went through stress just to make sure that my father got a decent send-off. But after coming through and knowing KUPA, 2 years later I lost my mother, and KUPA came in through for me. So I'm a beneficiary as a client, and also a beneficiary as a KUPA Kenya staff.
Okay. So if you compare those two situations, and I'm sorry to take you back to this because I know it's a painful situation for you, having lost your father in 2016 and then losing your mother. At the time you're losing your father, how did you galvanize your funding? And then compare that to when you lost your mother.
The truth that is there, I was just out of college, and I had got an opportunity in one of the organizations. I was new there, and I had to have some kind of WhatsApp group so that I can get some funds. Remember, I'm looking for funds, first of all, to clear the hostel bill. Then after the clearing of the hostel bill, you start now planning for the funeral itself. It was so tough that you put a number of people in your WhatsApp. You think that you have got maybe 1,000 people or 500 people in your WhatsApp, and think that if all these people will give me at least 500 shillings, I love enough. Do you know what happens, Trevor? You go to sleep, you wake up, you find 10 people left the group.
Without contributing.
Without contributing. Others wanakuambia, we are doing 2,000 as a pledge. Then 2 days later, 4 days later, 1 week later, you are not able to get the pledge. Yeah. And you know, something like funeral, you can't force somebody to do a contribution. It is out of the goodwill. And you also look at the priorities. If I have a child who is sent home for school fees or for tuition fee, and then I also have a friend who has lost a parent, and I also have a friend who has no food, where's the priority? So that's why we say, jipange, and therefore, you will take care of yourself in that point.
Yeah, and John, this is a conversation that is very difficult to have. As KUPA Kenya, what do you tell the people who you're trying to get as your members? Because we all know, what Paul is saying is very true. We all know that in one way or another, we've lost relatives, we've lost friends, and you always put in a WhatsApp group, everybody's trying to contribute. Sometimes people don't have money. How do you have this conversation with them?
You know, I'm smiling because for me, it's not difficult to start this conversation.
Yeah.
And I want to define what taboo is. Taboo is something prohibited. Now, if we prohibit ourselves from discussing death, then who is going to bury us? Yeah, it's like we are fulfilling the promise of let the dead bury themselves. It is not possible. We are living in a community where we need to work together to solve our problems. And that's why sometimes it becomes difficult when you find people running away from you when you have problems.
Yeah.
So that's why KUPA is here. Because if you look at 20 years ago, Kenyans were living as a community. You'd see these chamas, and I would say that my dad was bringing his community together, and whenever they had issues like funeral and any other development issues, people were contributing. That is gone. Now everyone to take care of themselves. But now KUPA has come at an opportune time where it can bring the society together so that as little as 100 bob, you are able to plan your funeral or plan your family's funeral and bury them decently.
Okay.
Yeah.
So is there a clause for how do someone claim? How can someone claim this money? Because you've said there's a waiting period for 4 months.
Yes.
So say you're a member now and you've sent your 200 shillings to, you said the till number is 869246. Yeah. So once that happens, and then there's an issue, you've been bereaved, how do you claim? Where do you start?
Basically, it's very easy.
Okay.
Actually, the money that you pay every month is not savings. It's contribution to bury members who have lost their loved ones.
Okay.
And that's how we pull our resources together so that we can support each other. So when you lose your loved one, and you have to call us. Once you report, you call, and then there's people who are our staff who are in the claims department, they will launch.
Yeah.
Once they launch the claim, it's digitalized. And then now the claim departments will follow up to check whether you've been paying diligently, and then they confirm. You have to send some documents. The documents that we ask you to send are documents that are not going to make you hassle more. So first of all, you're going to give us the photocopy of ID of the deceased, and then you're going to give us a letter from the chief. The chief will explain how they know you and the deceased, and then also you're going to give us an invoice from the mortuary. Those three documents, once they are presented to us, then we are waiting for the date of removal of the body from the morgue and the date of burial.
Okay.
Yes.
I'll take a quick break. When you come back, there's a lot of questions that's coming through. We'll pose some of them to you at Trevor Mbija, at Citizen TV Kenya. Use the hashtag Citizen Monday Report. We're back in just a bit. We're talking about this conversation about how to ensure you give your loved ones the respect that they deserve during the send-off, and to avoid the situations where you have to look for contributions to send off your loved one, right? That conversation coming up in just a bit. Don't go too far.